Steven, can you smell what the Giants are cooking?
Of course I can. Garlic fries.
No crab sandwich?
Can't really smell the crab sandwich. I guess you can, but the garlic fries.
Of course
It's more the stench of the garlic fries.
What about the shallots?
The shallots?
Don't they sell shallots with the garlic fries?
Are those shallots that they sell with
I
them?
don't know. I'm talking out of my
Do you know what
ass.
shallots are?
I do, but
Do you?
It was a thing. It was a thing that was brought up lately at old Oracle Park that anyway.
If you watch South Park and you watch the end, I think of season, I want to say it was the end of season 10 when they had the Food Network episode and they had like the sex hotline, but instead of sex, it was just Food Network where they're talking about recipes.
Cream frige.
Yeah, with cream frige.
Oh,
yeah,
fuck yeah, cream frige.
Oh, those shallots won't overwhelm the chicken's natural flavors. Oh yeah. You're gonna deglaze it? You're gonna deglaze that pan?
Oh yeah, fuck yeah, you are. Just your opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa. We got a lot to get to tonight. A lot of football, a lot of basketball. But Stephen, I give you the floor, sir. We're starting with baseball.
Oh.
Big signing.
Yeah.
Blake Snell to the San Francisco Giants. 2 years, 32 million with an opt-out after the first year. Did not think this was going to happen. I thought that Bob Melvin and Blake Snell did not get along, and maybe they didn't in San Diego, but they're going to make it work. I thought that Bob Melvin's comments the other day where he was just like, I just want him to go to a place where he'll be happy, really didn't signal that he wanted him, but hey, he's here. So Bob Melvin got Matt Chapman, and he got another ace in the rotation with Blake Snell. Steven, your thoughts as the Giants fan?
Well, I guess it's good that they got those players on what were essentially 1-year deals. That's the funny part about these Giants contracts is they're immediately reported and they give like the total value. So they give like the exact amount of years and the exact amount of money, but they forget to mention that the deal will be worth up to whatever this amount is. And I don't know if you just saw, but I just spit all over my laptop. I don't know if you saw that. Just sprinkler. My mouth.
I don't need any play-by-play. I missed it in maybe our viewing audience noticed it, but our podcast audience doesn't need to relive it.
Mm-hmm. So moving on with Chapman's deal, what was it like a 3-year deal? I think right. That was what it was, or a 4-year.
Yeah, with an opt-out after every year too. So
yeah, and Blake Snell's is a 2-year deal, but really it's a 1-year deal, and essentially what those are prove it deals. It's like, all right, well, you know what? I'm going to try and prove to other teams that I'm worth this much in free agency. Teams outside of the Yankees. I'm not surprised Snell rejected that deal from the Yankees, whatever it was, $150 million for
6 years.
However, yeah, like I wouldn't, I wouldn't think that Snell would thrive in a place like Yankee Stadium where it's essentially a bandbox, whereas Oracle Park is a total pitcher's park. So why wouldn't you want to join the Giants? Of course, it's a great move. They, solidified their rotation, and it was a necessary move because of the news from earlier. The Giants, I haven't seen, I don't think as much bad PR with the Giants like in a really long time. You know, like obviously with the Barry Bonds stuff, the steroid scandal and all that, it was terrible. But what's hovered over around them this past, I don't know, year since firing Gabe Kapler before the end of the regular season all the way until now, been a lot of ups and downs, and they almost hit like a new low with the Rennell Brooks Moon news.
Yeah, I mean, happening in the same day. Don't tell me it's coincidence that Snell rhymes with Rennell. But
ooh, good one.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm not the only one that came up with that. But I know Rennell. I don't know if you know Rennell well, Steven, but Rennell's awesome. I'm not even a Giants fan, but every time that I went to Oracle Park or whatever it was called at the time, Rennell was more than just welcoming and loving. And she's awesome. She's a diehard Raider fan, but she's been working with the Giants for 24 seasons. And yeah, I'm not happy that she's not back with the team. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of articles being written right now. John Shea had the most forthcoming in a lot of Twitter posts. You can think it was a contract dispute. It might be a little bit more than that. So it's terrible. And I know a lot of Giants fans. It was kind of weird today because I think a lot of fans are excited about Blake Snell, but at the same time, I think a lot are pissed right now because they won't hear her voice come opening day, which will be a huge change.
Well, the Rennell Brooks Moon thing goes beyond what happens with the team, right? Like you could be happy for Snell, but you also don't know what, it's going to look like beyond 2024. He could have a great season, and the Giants could sneak into the wild card and maybe they could, make some waves in the postseason by having a just decent rotation, especially by that time. Like if they're in the postseason by that time and Robbie Ray's back, it can't hurt to have two former Cy Young Award winners, Cy Young Award finalist, and then an up and comer like Kyle Harrison. I mean, I'm just rattled off the four pitchers, and that's aside from Snell. So they should be feeling really good about that. But Rennell Brooks Moon, she spans across generations. Like it's crazy to like for me, when Pac Bell Park first was established and it opened its doors in 2000, I was 7 years old.
Yeah.
And now I'm 30, about to turn 31 and about to get married. Like, you know what I mean? It's like there's a lot of people in that same boat where they were, young, impressionable kids.
Rennell raised you.
Going to that, but well, not really, but
yeah, she changed your diapers. I get it.
Definitely part of the child. Same with the A's announcer, I forgot his name, not Dick Callahan, but before that,
Roy Steele, the voice of God.
The voice of God, like those two. Just when I think of my childhood, like I think of that. Remember when we brought Evan on? He talked about, obviously, remember we brought Evan on. It wasn't that long ago.
You mean the last episode?
Last episode, we brought Evan on, and he basically said like Keenan Allen was kind of the last piece of his childhood with the Chargers, and well, with Rennell and Brandon Crawford not being there this season, like that's the last pieces of my Giants childhood kind of gone. So, just super sad for a lot of Giants fans out there, and it just goes beyond, what takes place on the field.
No, definitely, and I think that it'll be tough, especially how big of a ceremony they do for opening day with the Giants. God knows it goes on for way too long. But Rennell does a great job with John Miller, and yes, it's just not going to be the same. But I can't deny that the Blake Snell move is huge. I think it helps them in the NL West. I don't know if they're better than the Diamondbacks. Time will tell on that one. Dodgers made too many moves to not acknowledge that they may be the best team in baseball. But yeah, Giants are going to make some noise this year. So we will see what happens with that.
Outside of the NL West, they look like a really good team, but because they're in the NL West and those teams you just mentioned,
Well, real quick, how would you rank it right now?
How would I what?
How would you rank it right now? Dodgers 1, obviously. Would you go Diamondbacks 2?
Yeah, you have
the
to.
NL reigning champs.
Yeah, you have
not
to.
the reigning champs, but pennant winners.
You got to give them that respect. I think that'd be, for lack of a better term, I think that'd be disrespectful to put the Diamondbacks behind the Giants in that case. Like, come on, they are the National League representatives of the World Series just last season, and that was a team that wasn't expected to be there. So to carry that over from last season into this season, it's only right to make that preseason prediction. But when we do this podcast by the middle of the season, by the time it reaches the All-Star break, maybe could be feeling a little different. Who knows?
Yep. So as you said last podcast, Steven, just a transition here, we had Evan on, and we had a good time, and we were talking about things that could happen quarterback-wise or trades that still were on the horizon for the NFL. And I mentioned Justin Fields. Hasn't been done yet until about an hour later, or not even. Right when we got done with the podcast, of course, Justin Fields gets traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers for a conditional 6th-round pick in 2025 that can move up to a 4th-round pick, depending on playing time. And I'm not surprised by this. I kind of thought this was going to happen with Kenny Pickett getting moved, but it's definitely not the value that I thought it was going to go for. And when you look at everything, the 2021 QB draft class is awful. And the only one that still remains on their team is Trevor Lawrence. Zach Wilson, we'll get to him a little later. I thought that there was a chance that maybe the Niners trade for him. Mac Jones gets traded to the Jaguars for a 6th-round pick. And then Justin Fields gets traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. But Trey Lance, who barely played on the Niners, gets traded to the Dallas Cowboys for a 4th-round pick. Doesn't make sense to me. I think it's a good move for the Bears and the Steelers, but the value's not great. And of course, we had to bring Matt Kolsky back because he was with us last time and was considering keeping Caleb Williams and Justin Fields. That's not going to happen. Matt Kolsky, your thoughts, sir?
Wow.
Listen, if we're going to be totally honest, I am probably more ready to get truly fired up over Rennell than I am over the Field situation because ultimately, maybe we'll get back to Rennell. Ultimately, with Fields, it's a strange feeling to be both disappointed, but also understand that like it doesn't totally matter, and in the end, unloading Fields is probably the thing that you had to do. Like I get I can do the NFL math here, and fundamentally, I can tell you that the Bears let Justin Fields down. I can tell you that Justin Fields improved in ways that give me hope that he could be a really good quarterback for a long time. But I cannot sit here and tell you that this is one of those dudes that's going to keep you in a conference title for the next decade. And if you have the opportunity to get one of those dudes, you got to take it. And while I would have loved to see them find a way to get what I think is Fields' true value, which is at least a 3rd-round pick. I mean, give me a fucking break. But the fact that they both needed to trade him and also said they would take his, desires into account, said it out loud. Look at the Lakers have been doing that thing for years and saying like treating players nice publicly will earn them credibility in the long run. And God knows the Bears could use some of that credibility. So, maybe it's not the worst thing in the world. Is the difference between a 3rd or a 4th-round pick and the 6th-round pick they may end up with here that big of a deal? I don't know. I'll tell you when it's not a big deal is if Caleb Williams is a top 5 QB.
Yeah.
So, as a fan, I am both crushed that a guy who was certainly the classiest good quarterback I've had in my lifetime as a Bears fan, and one of the straight up best that I've watched, brought me as much joy as just about any quarterback watching football on Sundays that has been on my team. So I have love for Justin Fields, the way he handled the whole process, the way he handles his entire career in Chicago, which I feel like was being consistently let down by a team that didn't, it was a weird spot. I heard Diana Rossini and Robert Mays talking about this today, and I'm stealing from another podcast and sharing it on your podcast, but
shout out to the football show.
Yeah, exactly. Just the concept, essentially, that the year after he was drafted by Ryan Pace, Ryan Poles comes in with the objective not to put the best team around Fields, but to tear the thing down and rebuild it, because that's what was necessary. It was that bad. But the effect on Fields is he's had different coaches. He's had different coordinators. He's never had a great line. They never went out and spent money on good players to play around him. They finally spent a couple bucks last year. It was all on defense and ended up with DJ Moore because of the trade. But like at no point during Justin Fields' career has building around him been a priority until like now, in the days before he's traded. So
are you conflicted with Keenan Allen coming over?
Why? No, Jesus, no. You kidding me? I'm thrilled. I mean, now let's turn the page. I feel for Justin. I do think he'll be starting in Pittsburgh before the end of the year. I think he's better than Russell Wilson right now. But if I'm thinking as a Bears fan, goodbye and good luck. Truly, sincerely, good luck to Justin Fields, because, for all I care, the Pittsburgh Steelers can go to the Super Bowl. But I'm very excited to have, one of the stud prospects. We all know it's, it could bust, but it's an exciting time, and you could not have a much better collection of talent to drop him into, especially if they find a way to another offensive lineman at some point in this offseason, either in the draft or free agency.
I do think we need to get your take on what RG3 had to say about one Caleb Williams, because I do want to get to that, but I also want to just stick with Fields for just a second. I don't really have like a question here, but I'm just more, giving a take, and you can respond to it. But I love that this is because Derek just went right through it. I don't know if you noticed that, Kolsky, by the way. I love the red hair.
Thank you. It's got like a mishmash of colors going on.
Yeah.
Right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
How about
doing
that?
a whole thing. Cut off the long hair, went with some colors. I'm leaving for Costa Rica in I'm leaving the house anyway in like 8 hours. So it's like it's a free roll right now. You guys, you caught me right before I get out of town.
Oh my goodness.
We won't keep it too long because we want to get you.
No, listen, I got nothing better to do but sleep. And if I'm tired enough, maybe I can sleep through my children screaming on the plane,
Yeah. But with Fields, I love this move for him. Like, I love that he can go to a new Steelers offense that has Arthur Smith, an offensive coordinator who, by all accounts, was a fantastic offensive coordinator and is likely going to try to parlay that into another head coaching job. So I think that he's really going to put his best foot forward here in Pittsburgh. And I love that he has a chance to battle it out to potentially overtake Russell Wilson and then have some sort of career revival, because like we've seen it way too much lately with quarterbacks. I mean, looking back, even dating back to like the 2017 draft with Patrick Mahomes, we forget that, Mitchell Trubisky was the second or the first quarterback taken in that draft. And then, guys like Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, they all, kind of fall by the wayside and just become backups for their entire career. I think Justin Fields has a chance to just remake himself, and it didn't work with the Bears. It's a total case study on fit and, the system that he was joining. I think this is a really good move for both parties, even though the Bears only got a 6th-round pick.
Yeah, I would have loved to see them get more, but I think everybody ends up in a better place, certainly.
Right.
For Fields, my only concern is, it's a pretty old school operation in Pittsburgh, and I have a feeling they'll give Russell Wilson a longer leash than he deserves, but I just don't think he's got much left based on what I've watched over the last year. So we'll see, but I definitely think he's the best quarterback on that roster right now.
So turning the page to, I guess, the Caleb Williams era, they're going to bring him in tomorrow, and he's going to go do his pro day, and he'll bring them in. Is there any part of you that, yes, he's got, the look and he definitely fits the part, and it's something that the Chicago Bears fans have been longing for, probably for franchise history, to have this type of quarterback. But is there any worry with the off the field stuff of just how maybe he carries himself, or I guess the arrogance that people perceive? Is there any worry that this guy is just going to be too big for the NFL, or think that he's too big for the NFL?
Not really. I mean, you just never know. And I'm always loath to put much stock in the sort of like, what's his personality reports of a college kid.
Yeah.
I mean, does he have an ego? Probably. You find me a good quarterback who doesn't. Will he behave himself like a professional when he becomes a professional? There's only one way to find out. Nothing that I've seen. Like, it's different if we're talking about DUIs or some kind of violent behavior or whatever. But it's all like insinuations about whether he thinks he's the, biggest swinging dick in the room. And like, he has been his whole life. So I'll forgive him that. And if he if he shows up in the NFL acting that way, he'll either be corrected quickly or it won't work out, but I don't know, man. I can't worry about that when you're talking about that level of talent. And fundamentally, if he's good enough, he can basically act however he wants.
True. And you guys have a lot of common. You both paint your fingernails, right?
Exactly. Yeah, let's party.
So,
Steven, do you have that clip of Robert
Costa
Griffin?
Rican flag colors for Costa Rica.
Ooh, nice.
which part of Costa Rica are you going to?
We're moving around a little bit, going to the beach, going to the mountains, going to the volcano.
Damn.
Should be good. Yeah.
Sounds
How
like a
long you
great
staying?
trip.
It is it's like 10 days basically.
10 beautiful days. Nice.
Yeah, it's
Damn.
a long one.
All right. Well, at least we get to let you get these takes off before you take
Yeah,
off.
exactly.
Costa Rica.
Exactly.
So Robert Griffin III made some waves with this.
Okay, so I have not heard this. I am interested.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just we'll play like the first.
Oh, you got
minute.
the video. Oh, great.
It's 2.5 minutes, but we'll play like
Okay,
the first
okay.
minute and we'll just cut it off when we see fit.
Caleb Williams should pull a Eli Manning and demand that the Chicago Bears do not draft him #1 overall. After everything that's happened with Justin Fields, can Caleb Williams really look at that and say, you know what? This is the organization that has my best interest at heart, and they're going to help develop me into the player that I want to become. Caleb Williams is on record saying that he wants to be legendary. He wants to rewrite history, and he wants to be the best that he can possibly be and win the most games he can possibly win. After the Bears took Justin Fields, the 11th pick in the draft, and turned him into a 6th round pick in the 2025 draft by trading him to the Pittsburgh Steelers, can Caleb Williams really look at that and say, you know what? Yeah, this organization is going to help get me where I want to go. I don't think it's saying that. Eli Manning.
All right. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, well, I think the best argument in support of what Robert Griffin is saying, which is not actually that original, is if you believe in like sports curses,
Mm-hmm.
to me, it's the same as saying like, now this is not a good comparison now, but 10 years ago, maybe 15 even, the #1 overall NBA pick should refuse to go to the Clippers, right? Like they'll never win. They're the Clippers. The Lions. You should never agree to go to the Detroit Lions. They'll never win. They're the Lions. The everything he said about what happened to Fields ignores like context and like a lot of useful information.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically the stuff we were talking about before, because he's not wrong that this is the same franchise that essentially drafted and then proceeded to repeatedly let down Justin Fields, right? But to say that ignores the context of he was drafted by the previous regime. The new regime was asked, again, not to support the quarterback, but to tear the thing down and start from scratch. We've seen over about 3 years, they've done a pretty good job of cleaning out really a garbage pile and turning it into a team that, especially with some of the additions this offseason, looks like if it gets high-level quarterback play, it's certainly a playoff team. Unfortunately, that was built for Caleb Williams and not Justin Fields. And to say that Caleb Williams should refuse to go there because of how it looks for Justin Fields is kind of to ignore the fact that, well, certainly anything that's been done in the last 6 months has been done essentially with Caleb Williams in mind. And really this whole time, even if it wasn't specifically with Caleb Williams in mind, much of what Ryan Poles has done to reshape the Bears roster has been with the next quarterback in mind. I don't think he ignored the possibility that Fields would be that next quarterback, but like Fields was never his guy. So I don't know. To me, I don't believe in the curse stuff. I think teams lose largely when they're run incompetently. Lose at the level we're talking about. Teams fail to ever have a quarterback largely when for various reasons, they're specifically approaching the game in decades-old ways of thinking about it and never appropriately prioritized the position, or never had people who could scout it well enough, or maybe worst of all, just lost the lottery that is drafting a quarterback anywhere but first overall, or sometimes even first overall. So that's the tough part, is like, I'm talking like Caleb Williams is going to be the shit, and I fucking hope he will, but we just don't know until we see it. Whether it's off the field silliness or on the field, it doesn't matter. He could be the perfect prospect, and still you have like a 65% chance that he'll actually be great.
Yeah, I thought Robert Griffin's take was just lacking detail, and this is the same guy that thought that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch were on the hot seat when they traded away Trey Lance. So
sorry, I keep kicking my camera, but yeah, this is the thing: is like, Robert Griffin III doesn't have any credibility necessarily. He did play football in the NFL, so clearly he knows more about the sport than I do, or at least playing it. But like, I'm not sure. That's an argument that sounds good on the surface because he says true things in it.
yes,
But I'm not sure it actually holds together that meaningfully. And I will say, it's kind of moot at this point, because you can't convince me that they dealt Fields for a 6th rounder without knowing for certain that Caleb Williams is ready to come to town and go to work. Like,
they wouldn't be meeting with him tomorrow if that wasn't the case.
They've had that conversation already. So,
yeah,
just to act like just to act like it wasn't it's a number 1 overall pick that didn't win 7 games last year. Like, what the, like, it's such a rare opportunity for the Bears to do what they're doing. And really, I mean, like, God, there's a lot of pressure on them to hit on this pick, a lot of pressure on Williams. Cause I think,
but there was always going to be pressure on him. Right. And I think the difference is he's got a better roster. Like, the average number 1 overall drafting team does not have DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Cole Kmet, like, if not star-studded, at least multi-pronged rushing attack, and like a pretty good offensive line, and a defense that by the end of the year last year looked like one of the better ones in the league and has bolstered itself in a couple of ways already. This is a very, very good team for a number 1 overall pick to step into.
Absolutely, I agree. All right, so we got your opinions on Justin Fields, and I think you're reasonable. I think you are torn with the fact that you wanted to see more from him, but you can't pass on this opportunity. So I feel the same way. I think it's a great opportunity. I think it's a great opportunity for him at Pittsburgh, and I think they can't pass on Caleb Williams. And I wish they got more value for him, but at the end of the day, like, this is just I guess
it's not the most important thing, right? The most important thing is Caleb Williams being good, and if he is really good, nobody is going to look back and even remember or care what round draft pick you got for Justin Fields.
No.
And, hopefully they're both good, but like, I think I used this analogy when I talked to you guys last time. Like, if I promise you that Caleb Williams is going to be elite as a Bears fan or analyst, would you just cut Justin Fields, just effectively light him on fire for Bears purposes? And of course the answer is yes. Like, of course, if you can guarantee, so like, that's what matters. What matters is how good is Caleb Williams?
Right.
And let's go, baby.
Oh,
I can't wait to watch it. I'll give him that. He's already got me excited for week 1.
Okay, but now that they've traded him away, be honest. Did you ever think there was an actual possibility of them two playing together?
I mean, I did not, in that I never expected the Bears to do it. I do, in that I feel like, handled properly, adults should be able to function in that scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And I do truly believe that, first of all, based on everything we've seen from Justin Fields, he would have handled it like a pro. If the Bears said, listen, we're not trading you for a 6th round pick. That's absurd. You're worth too much. You're going to be our backup until someone gets hurt. So like, we'll still take your feelings into account when it comes to it, but like, we got to get paid here, so to speak. I 100% believe Fields would have handled it like a professional. Maybe not been thrilled, but handled it like a professional. And if Caleb Williams is so soft that having Justin Fields on the roster craters him somehow, then he was never going to hit anyway. So then you better have Fields so that when Caleb Williams stinks, you've still got Fields. So to me, I wish that had been a consideration, or at least a bluff, so that they could have extracted more from a team for Fields. Like, oh, okay, then we won't, then forget it. You know what I mean? But that obviously was not the priority. And again, when it's all said and done, it's not going to matter.
I mean, that is
Lindsey
interesting,
Buckingham
though.
and Stevie Nicks got divorced and then stuck with Fleetwood Mac, and then proceeded to come out with one of the greatest albums to ever exist in Rumors. So this is the exact same thing. I think they would have made it work.
That's an apt
The
comparison.
exact same thing.
It's the exact same thing.
Precisely.
Yeah, it's just you know, these players weren't cheating on the said player with other
the drummer
band members. Yeah, with the drummer. Yeah.
Damn, that'd be interesting.
Oh yeah.
But
I
mean, but it is interesting though that they did this before the draft, and I thought that was going to be the move to wait.
Like, wait till the draft. Yeah, something.
Well, I thought they were going to wait to see like if the Raiders didn't get the guy that they wanted, or
Denver,
or any of those quarterback, or any of those teams that are looking to get a quarterback. And the Bears just thought, nah, let's just trade him now. Which it is surprising because I thought they could have got more value if they waited, but I guess they just wanted to make this move and not have Justin feel, awkward.
And maybe also there is an element of just like, let's get the Caleb thing off to the best possible start, and on the pot, like not make it weird at all, because it would have been a little weird, undoubtedly. I can't say it wouldn't have been weird for everybody, but it is what it is. At this point, I have to get into my Bears fan mode of just like, good luck to Justin, and God, I hope Caleb Williams is the truth, man. I really do.
Yep.
All right, I don't want to keep you too long because I know you got a big flight to Costa Rica, but you brought it up, and I know you've been tweeting about it. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Rennell Brooks Moon not being a part of the Giants organization anymore?
I want to be as delicate as possible here, but literally, what the fuck? I don't understand. And she is too classy of a lady to like air anything out, so we'll never know.
Yeah.
And it really frustrates me. But I feel like I can say with some confidence that if it was like a friendly mutual parting of ways retirement sort of thing, it would not have broken the way it did and sort of been statemented the way it was. And I just, even more than the sort of disappointment and frustration with an organization that just like, I mean, do the Giants not understand that at the core right now, their appeal is emotional? Like even with Blake Snell, and I love the Blake Snell pickup, and I think it makes them a legitimate threat in a way that they were not 2 days ago. But, for what it's worth, on paper and probably off, they're not winning anything. Like, this is not a World Series winner. Now, I say that with full knowledge that things can happen, and their World Series winners 3 times last decade didn't start out looking so spectacular, right? But it's a long time since 2014, and you haven't sold a thing but emotions, basically, since then.
Right. So
to just, like, stick a knife in the heart of the ballpark is bizarre to me.
Yeah.
It is bizarre. And anyone who wants to argue Rennell's importance is not worth talking to.
Right.
No, that's fair.
And if you don't recognize that Rennell is important and also just awesome, like, fuck right off. And I don't feel like that needs to be addressed. I think everyone can agree Rennell rules. The question is just like, what in the hell happened here? And I have trouble conceiving of a way that what happened is not like some degree of shameful on the Giants' part.
Yeah. Did you look at John Shea's article by chance?
I haven't seen it yet. No.
He alludes to the fact that she was outspoken during 2020, and
Right. And
the
that's,
ownership group is not happy about that.
it sounds like some, I mean, I don't know who's listening. Sounds like some Charles Johnson ass shit. Does it not? I don't know. I don't know. And I want to say very clearly, I don't know. But it's a real bummer. It's a real bummer. And lots of fans are bummed. And lots of the not so normal baseball fans who are Giants fans are especially bummed. Because again, this team, certainly the marketing department knows what they've been selling for the last decade. And it's not wins. It's just not.
Yeah.
Right.
With all due respect. Like, there have been good players and there have been good runs, and there's certainly been, you know, the end of careers of players who did win here, but it's a decade now. And there's not been a lot of serious contention in that time. And there has been a lot of routine, uncomfortable butt whoopings from the arch rival. So look, man, I just, again, the only reason that there's some schmuck with red and blue hair on a podcast that speaks to the Bay Area talking about the Giants not winning for a decade is because they let Ronell go. There'd be no reason for me to point this out if they hadn't let her go. It's like the weirdest self-inflicted wound to me, and it makes me super, just on a human level, curious about what the hell happened.
Well, you know what, and Kolsky, the thing is, with the listeners of this podcast, they know that whatever you say, it's just your opinion,
my
man.
opinion, man.
It's just your opinion, man. Yeah.
And, you know, I think it is ironic coming in such close proximity to Blake Snell, as if like they just had to they had to make the tough roster decision and cut Ronell to afford the discount. The discounted Blake Snell contract. Like it's a terrible look, man. The optics are impossibly bad, and I cannot understand how presumably intelligent people would handle this way.
Yeah, you don't have to be a detective. You don't have to be Sherlock Holmes to understand that there's something going on there when they part ways with a beloved figure just like 3 weeks before the home opener and a week before the regular season. Like that just doesn't happen. And they just say, oh, it's because of contract disputes. Like what? No, that doesn't happen.
Even mean?
Yeah.
What does that even mean? Contract disputes. She's not a free agent, for fuck's sake, making $1 million. What are we doing?
Yeah. When she said when they said her contract was up at December of 2023, I was like, her contract's up. What? It's expired? What does that mean? Well, it's Ronell. She doesn't have she has a lifetime contract. She has a lifetime pass.
Yeah, and the fact that they let it just, fizzle out like they did all off season's ridiculous as well.
So bizarre. So bizarre. And what about the poor bastard who gets the job?
Yeah.
I don't envy that. I'm not applying for that job. Not that I would get it, but I'm just saying, like, that doesn't sound fun. Everyone's pissed off you're not Ronell for at least a year, if not longer.
It's going to be tough because who's going to MC the opening day ceremony? Is it going to be John Miller by himself?
She does.
Yeah.
Who just Charles Johnson and company can feel whatever they want to feel politically, socioeconomically, etc.
Yeah.
Are they not businessmen selling a business to the Bay Area? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I say that to say Ronell was a voice for things that the Bay Area cares about, like people's human rights.
No, I agree 100%. I think that there's some out there that are just going to argue, oh, Ronell was just the PA announcer and it's not that big of a deal. It is a bigger deal than that because baseball, I thought Adam and Tom put it perfectly yesterday. It's a companion sport, and you want to hear the voices every day, whether it's on the radio or on TV or in the ballpark. And when they're gone for stupid reasons, the fans will revolt. So Yeah, I
Well,
don't
can I
envy the
tell
Knicks
you
person.
something? It's not just the PA announcer, because like you don't know every PA announcer's name. Not every city knows its PA announcer that way. Not
Yeah.
every city has that kind of relationship with its PA announcer, because not every PA announcer is Rennell Brooks Moon. And like, again, I don't even feel like that needs to be debated or discussed, because like, if you have not figured that out, you don't know what you're talking about. You just
Yeah.
don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Dude, thank you for coming on again. Have a great
Dude.
trip to Costa Rica.
I will. You know, listen, at this point, like, have me on every couple weeks. What else do I have to do? Just
No,
sit
well-
downstairs in my robe while my family sleeps and talk sports.
Yeah, dude.
Nice.
As the draft approaches, we'll get you on again and talk about just everything that goes into the Bears draft. And yeah, check out Kolsky on the toy department. His
Oh
podcast.
yeah, do that. Sure. Yeah, do that.
All right, man. Have a good trip.
Bye, guys.
Kolsky,
well.
see ya. We'll talk Chelsea next pod.
Oh yeah, let's go.
All right, here we go. All right, see ya.
And I'll just sit in the corner.
Yeah. Oh, terrible. Don't even get me started.
Chelsea,
Yeah,
they lose.
they lose a lot. I
Oh.
told you that. I told you this already.
I
The
don't
guy
listen.
who's-
I don't pay attention when we do your soccer segments.
The guy who does, the guy who's a part owner of
Oh,
the Dodgers, Todd Bailey. He's part of the ownership group. He's not the majority, but he's a part owner. Comes to England, buys Chelsea. His group buys Chelsea, and they spend and spend and spend, kind of like the Dodgers do. They spent more money than that's ever been spent in what's their version of, you know, the hot stove transfer season. And the team stinks. Like, it's embarrassing. So yeah, we'll talk Chelsea on the other side though.
no, I'll think. I think on the other side. I think
On the other
that that's part of our commercial break.
Yep.
No, I think we should give you your segment back, Steven. Your Steven's
What?
70-second soccer segment, so you can air out all these grievances.
All right, cool, sweet.
All right, we'll start it again.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude. So I agree with everything Kolsky said about Rennell and about the Bears trading away
Yeah.
Justin Fields.
Yeah.
So I think we both agree that we probably should have got more value for him. But best situation with Kenny Pickett gone, Justin Fields is the backup to Russell Wilson. We'll see what happens with Russell Wilson. He could be rejuvenated in Pittsburgh, but I think it's definitely an upgrade to go from Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph to Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, no doubt.
Yeah. Dude, like, that situation, that scenario that is about to play out in Pittsburgh, it's maybe, besides just like the actual games and, the implications on the division and the standings and all that sort of stuff, the scenario that intrigues me just about as much as any. I love it when there's like a generational talent, maybe like a generational running back like Saquon Barkley, who's about to make his debut for the Giants, or a generational wide receiver like we're about to see from Marvin Harrison Jr. It feels like it's been a while since we've had one of those guys like taken with the top pick, or am I wrong on that? I could be wrong on that.
No, those are good names.
As highly touted as he is. And then, of course, there's the quarterback, the allure of Caleb Williams playing with Chicago. That's going to be fascinating to watch it play out. But the scenario that I love watching is when there's a veteran quarterback like Russell Wilson and there's someone waiting right behind him, like that meme with Henry Cavill from Superman, where he's in full focus, but behind him, kind of out of focus, but coming into the picture is Jason Momoa, ready to pounce. So right now, Russell Wilson is Henry Cavill. All the lights are on him. He's in focus. He's going to be the one that's donning the black and gold on the field to start. But coming up right behind him is Justin Fields, waiting for him to slip into that starting spot, then take over. It's a scenario I love watching play out.
So is Justin Fields Ben Affleck as Batman?
No, dude. Justin Fields is Jason Momoa. Did you not follow what I just talked about?
Sorry, I was lost in your analogy. You went from chairlifts to Fleetwood Mac to.
There was no mention of no chairlift. There was no. Hey, that Fleetwood Mac was a great comparison.
No, it was good. All the Bears are sleeping with each other. I get it. It's like Eberflus is sleeping with Justin Fields. He's sleeping with
Yeah, and all just got addictions, and they're gonna
Yeah.
write songs about it. Yeah.
It's terrible, and they all go both they go their own way.
Oh, nice. Was that
Yeah.
was that a, was that an actual was that an actual
Yes,
pun there?
yes, that was intentional, Stephen. That was intentional.
Nice. All right.
But hey, you can never break the chain. So
Damn it, you got two good ones in. I was trying to think of one. I was about to tell you to don't stop thinking about tomorrow, but that don't make no sense.
is Fleetwood Mac sing that song?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Huh.
Uh-huh.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll see. I mean, hopefully, everything goes right for both franchises. Caleb Williams does well with the Bears, and Russell Wilson does well, or Justin Fields does well with the Steelers. Hopefully, no one, goes down a landslide. Anyway, so so when Justin Fields, you're impressed, huh? Justin Fields gets traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We got a lot of good quarterback situations in the NFL right now. Good backup quarterback situations. I like all these moves. I like Justin Fields backing up Russell Wilson. I love the idea of Josh Dobbs backing up Brock Purdy. I think that's a great move by the Niners. I thought for a second there, I read way too many of these rumors on Twitter. I did think that there was a possibility they were going to trade for Zach Wilson, which would have been hilarious. But I don't know where he's going to go now. But who cares about that? Well, I will in the middle of July when he's still on the Jets roster. But you got Sam Howell backing up Geno Smith. You got Kenny Pickett backing up Jalen Hurts. And it's just a lot of good quarterback situations, I think, tandems. You got Joe Flacco backing up Anthony Richardson. A lot of, places set in stone here or there. And you got Gardner Minshew starting and presumably Aiden O'Connell backing him up. But that's not good enough for me. And I don't think that's good enough for you. And I don't think that's good enough for most Raider fans. So once I saw this Justin Fields trade, I was like, well, that's it. The Raiders have to draft somebody. They have to do that in the first round. And you're seeing more and more news every day about J.J. McCarthy. The Vikings, I guess, are just hell-bent on having him be their quarterback. And they may trade all the way up to 4 to go get him. And that's fine. I don't want the Raiders to go get J.J. McCarthy. I still need to watch him, but like I said, and like you've been saying, man, I just don't see it. I don't see what everybody else sees, that he's going to be presumably the 4th quarterback taken in this draft. So with that being said, the Raiders probably need to trade up in the draft to put out with the Denver Broncos or possibly the New York Giants. And they got to make a move if they think that Michael Penix or Bo Nix is their guy.
Yeah. I mean, which Nix do you want? Do you want Bo or do you want Michael Penn? Which Nix is better? Shout out to George Wallace. That's what he would tweet out sometimes. Something like that, where he'd put like the suffix of a word and then he'd kind of awkwardly
Look
talk
at
about
you
the beginning.
referencing George Wallace, my man.
Which one would you rather want, Bo or Michael Penn? Which Nix would you want? I would rather get Michael Penix, personally. And from looking at the mock drafts, it's looking like a lot of these guys, these analysts, experts, people who do this stuff for a living, it looks like a lot of these guys have Michael Penix dropping past the number 13 spot where the Raiders where the Raiders are right now.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot have him going before that. So really, I think if there was an optimal draft
Tax
for the
relief?
Raiders, no, I'm not going to do it.
Look out.
I'm not going to do it. R.I.P. Alan Thicke.
If you're getting a letter from the IRS, it's probably not your birthday.
I'm drinking again. Nothing. I'm not going to.
Michael?
All right. What was I going to say? The optimal draft would be they take either an offensive lineman or a defensive back. Well, I mean, there's the defensive tackle, Byron Murphy II, who is who seems to be going to he seems to be going to the Raiders in a lot of those mocks. But really, like, if you can get someone like as good as a 13th pick as like an offensive tackle, I don't know if that guy Alt from Notre Dame is going to drop there. The dude from Oregon State, whose name's escaping me right now, he could go 13th. He's an offensive tackle too, or there's potentials at possibilities at defensive back. But the best draft would be to get that and then trade up from your 2nd round pick. and try to get Penix in the late first round and just snag him before any other team does in the second round.
Yeah, it'll be
I
interesting.
think that'd be the best case scenario, because you're right, dude. Like, with all these quarterbacks across the league, ultimately you need your quarterback. Like,
Yeah.
when we look at two teams, you know, like, what are you going to take? Are you going to take the team that has a fantastic, you know, offense around him with a solid defense, or are you going to take the other team who has Patrick Mahomes? You know what I mean? You're going to be taking Patrick Mahomes 9, maybe even 10 times out of 10. They need a quarterback. They need somebody, because right now they're in the same kind of ballpark as the Giants, where it's like everyone in the division was building around them. The Giants in 2022, I'll say, where everyone in the division is just getting better, and you're kind of just sitting there. You're making improvements, and they did make some splashes this free agency, but you got to land the big fish. You got to reel that in. You got to reel in your version of Jaws. You know, 20-foot great, a 20-foot great white.
Oh, gotcha. A great white shark.
Yeah, Jaws, dude. Want to know a fun fact?
Go for it, Steven.
Random fun fact. Jaws, the robot's name was Bruce, and you know what the name of the shark in Finding Nemo was? Bruce.
Jaws. Oh.
I hate you,
I knew it was Bruce. I knew it was Bruce.
I hate you, dude. All right.
Hey, they were all in like a AA group. It was actually clever. Fish are friends, not food.
Correct.
I'm with you. I'm leaning towards Michael Penix, but I still got to look over these quarterbacks. And actually, Steven's going to spring training this weekend to go check out Blake Snell and the Giants. So Alon Desai, who's in the chat right now, what's up, Alon? Will be filling in with me on Sunday, and we'll go over. He's been watching a lot more college football than I have this season, so he'll give his take on who he thinks the Raiders should go after, quarterback wise in the draft. But yeah, I'm leaning towards Michael Penix. I got to watch a little bit more. I think it's kind of a little unfair with the injury history of why he's being, you know, kind of pegged down in the draft. And maybe the Raiders don't need to trade up in the draft to go get him. Maybe they don't. Maybe they feel comfortable at 13 taking him. Maybe, like you said, Steven, maybe they could trade from the second round pick into the late first round to go get Michael Penix if they see a bigger need other than quarterback. I mean, quarterback's the biggest need, but maybe they could get by with just the value of not having to pull something that Mike Mayock or John Gruden would do back in the day of just reaching for a player just because you want him there. Doesn't mean it's the smart move. Just because you want that guy there doesn't mean it's the smart thing to do based on value. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I think this means that they're going to have to monitor what's going on. I think that, you know, the Vikings definitely want to make a move. I don't know what the Giants want to do. They've, I guess, wined and dined with J.J. McCarthy, but they still have Daniel Jones, and they signed Drew Lock. Same thing with the Broncos. They're one slot above the Raiders, so you don't want them to get the guy you want. Maybe you make a move just because you don't want to see them get Michael Penix or Bo Nix, whoever you're eyeing. But I think the Raiders, you know, they're in a good spot, but maybe they would feel more comfortable if they moved up, if they want to feel like they need to get the quarterback that they want. So, yeah, I think the Justin Fields move pretty much solidified that the Raiders need to go after a quarterback in the draft at some point. First round, second round. I still think I think all 6 of those guys are going in the first round. I think J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix, Bo Nix, and obviously the top 3 guys are going to go all in the first round. So it just depends on if the Raiders are willing to let it play out or if they feel better if they moved up in the draft.
Yeah, see, like, it's the sheer amount of quarterbacks. I keep on going back to that 2018 draft, and, you know, we're not at the end of the Tom Brady era, but we are certainly heading in that direction at the time. And with that draft in 2018, you thought, you know, not you, but like, just I'm talking about NFL fans, like, you know, just you in general, just us is what I'm saying.
No, I got you.
You thought, damn, now we got this incoming generation of franchise guys, and they are going to take the mantle, you know, from Phillip Rivers and Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, the legacy left behind by those guys. That did not happen. And it feels like we're getting a lot of that this year. And really the 2 guys who I could see like going on a Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold type of route, Bo Nix and JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's
Like,
the
God,
well, that's
we put so much stock into those guys in 2018, and look where they're at now. It just feels like feels like we're redoing that all over again. Feels like
well,
Freaky
not
Friday.
well, not only that draft, but look at just 2 years ago, 2021, 3 years ago. All those quarterbacks, like I said before, all that quarterback class was deemed as the next bright stars of the NFL. Where Trevor Lawrence was, you can't miss on that guy. Zach Wilson's the guy that moved up. His draft stock went through the roof. Justin Fields, he's in the national championship game. You got Mac Jones, who won the national championship. It felt like that was, Kyle and everybody looked at that draft. It was like, we got to move up in this draft to go get that quarterback, Trey Lance. It was all based pretty much on expectations and potential, and none of those guys panned out. None of those guys panned out except for Trevor Lawrence, who we still have question marks about. He's good, but we don't know if he's living up to the hype of the first overall pick. All those guys are not going to be with their teams. Zach Wilson most likely will not be with the Jets. And you look at the same situation this season, I completely understand that the Raiders need to make a quarterback move, but also it's got to be the right quarterback move.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just be because Michael Penix, I feel the Raiders gave in to a lot of fan pressure this offseason by hiring Antonio Pierce, which I don't think was the wrong move, but it just felt like they gave in to that and Max Crosby, and I just don't want them to feel like they have to make a move at quarterback because that's what they have to do in order to compete. Or, they have to do that to compete with Mahomes and Herbert, but just don't take Michael Penix because you need a quarterback. It has to be the right guy. It really does. And it's tough. Not everybody's CJ Stroud. So
Right.
quarterback drafts are a crapshoot. You don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, but I think also there's a sense of urgency though with the Raiders, unlike a lot of other teams. You know what I mean? Which is why I think there is a need. Even though they need to find the right quarterback, I think they do need to try to get a quarterback in the first round here if they can. Trade up and get one of these guys. Do I think JJ McCarthy or Bo Nix should be? But no, it's different for the Raiders just in the situation they're in, with Max Crosby and Devontae Adams. Kind of, I don't want to say even Max Crosby's in, maybe Crosby's in his prime, while Devontae Adams is it's just still an elite wide receiver. Like, when you still have those guys, you need a quarterback. And they need something to get the fan base excited. I'm not saying the fan base should dictate everything, but I think the Raiders would be inclined, and they should know, quarterback, we need one. We need somebody to take over. Good God, when Derek Carr was there, that gave them, a 9-year leash. It's like, all right, we got our quarterback. Let's build around this guy. You know what I mean? And it gave them that long to where, then the fans kind of started to turn on them towards the tail end of it. They need to find one very, very soon, because last year was a dud.
No, I'm with you. They definitely need to make a move. Just got to be the right move. I'm
Question.
curious. Go for it.
Actually, you go first. I got a Justin Fields question for you.
Well, mine's a little off topic. I'm
right.
just curious what everybody's watching right now, because I'm watching this thrilling end to the Nuggets and Timberwolves game, two of the top teams in the West. And it sounds like everybody's watching this Giants spring training game or whatever play-in tournament's going on right now in the NCAA tournament. So I'm just curious what everybody's watching.
Yeah, I got everything, really. I got Sharks, I got Giants, I got...
Look at you.
I don't really have the Nuggets and Timberwolves too much.
What do you got, the quad box going?
No, but I got a remote.
Ah, that's helpful.
It's switch anytime.
Thank you, Alon. Alon's a loyal fan. Oh no, I hit Tacky.
Oh no, that's the one you should pull up. The one that says "Eat shit, Derek." Yeah, that one.
Yes. Thanks, Tacky. No, Alon's like, I'm watching you. Appreciate it, Alon. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Of course, I had to pull up Tacky. That son of a bitch. What's up, Otis Bird? Sorry, what was your question about Justin Fields?
I just want to. What day is it today? It's Tuesday. It's March 19th. I want to put a stamp on it now. Let's make a prediction. At what point of the season are Steelers fans going to be calling for Justin Fields? Do we think it's going to go before the preseason? Is it going to be preseason week 2? Is it going to be regular season week 4? What week we going here? How long you giving Russell Wilson until Steelers fans turn on him? And Now it's Steelers country. Let's not weld anymore.
Mike Tomlin's a fair guy. So I would say at least 5 games. But come back to me when the schedule comes out, and I'll give you a better idea.
No, I need it now, dude. Like,
Okay,
come on.
At least 5 games.
Just at least 5 games. All right.
Russell Wilson will get 5 games.
All
at
right.
least.
So are you going week 6? Because that's what AJ Cruz is going with. See, AJ Cruz understands the point of this exercise is to give a definitive answer. Don't say just beyond week 5, because that just gives you.
I gave you an
all
answer.
It gives you those games all beyond week 5.
Okay, but unlike just like Robert Griffin, though, or unlike Robert Griffin, who doesn't need facts or details, I need those things sometimes.
Why?
Because I'm just not going to make a hot take like that. I'd say
Why?
at least
It's
week
not a
5.
hot take.
Who the
What are you
fuck
talking about?
Who the fuck would know that right now?
Nobody. That's why it's fun to guess.
I ain't playing no games. I ain't guessing.
Good.
I told you.
God.
I said at least week 5.
All right. Whatever.
And then we'll get the schedule, and I'll get you a better idea of what the Steelers' win-loss record is, and maybe they do make a change by that point.
All right. Well, you also didn't answer the question. You answered it. How long is Mike Tomlin giving him? I asked you how long Steelers fans.
Oh, Steelers fans?
Give it.
That's an easier question. After the first interception.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'm giving it by preseason week 2.
Damn, you think it's gonna be that quick?
Oh, I think as soon as they see Fields on the on the field, yeah, they're going to be calling for Justin Fields immediately, guaranteed.
I still think that out of all fan bases, the Steelers are really reasonable. Like how many teams know? I mean, a lot of fans know their offensive coordinator, but like for them to go out on Matt Canada as quickly as they did, they're smart fan base. So I think they would give Russell Wilson some time and then turn on them and then say, "Eat shit, Russ."
Oh no, they're not eat shit, Russ. They're also going to be calling him. They're going to be calling him a jag off by the regular season. That's a big thing, and that's a big thing over there in Pennsylvania. Calling somebody a jag off.
Yeah, is that how they talk on McAfee Show?
No, I just know someone.
Pittsburghese.
I know someone from Pittsburgh who talks like that.
Jag off.
Jag off. Yeah. Jag, like GAG. Yeah.
Yeah, like the show. Great show.
Oh, wow. God, you remember that?
Well, in the early 2000s, when a game was going late on CBS. Coming up next, it's Jag, followed by, or not next, it would usually be 60 minutes, but coming up on Monday, it's King of Queens, followed by Jag.
You take a look at all the channels on like the TV guide, and then you just see literally at every hour. Remember that remember that when they used to have you put up the guide and you used to go time by time, and you used to see what everything was playing, and you just see Jag. You're like, God damn, how much Jag is playing tonight?
It's a Jag off, baby. It's a marathon.
It's a Jag off.
This game's close. This Denver Timberwolves game. 4 seconds left. 2 points.
Thought you were talking Giants Royals.
Yeah, how's that going? That thrilling spring training game.
It's a lot of fun. Tell you what, something cooking over there in Scottsdale.
Real quick, a question for you. Who do you think, last backup quarterback that needs a job, who do you think gets it first? Ryan Tannehill or Zach Wilson? Because they're the last 2 guys, and I don't see a lot of places in the NFL now. I thought the Niners were gonna consider Zach Wilson, and the accounting issue. You saw that, right?
With the Niners?
Yeah, that apparently may have played a role in them not going after Zach Wilson because they need as many draft picks as possible. So they just signed Josh Dobbs, the Pastronaut, who is not a bad option for a backup quarterback. But I do think Zach Wilson was on the table for the Niners. But some accounting error that happened in 2022 made them forfeit some draft picks, or at least one. And then they moved back at the end of the 4th round. I actually got all the details here. Hang on.
I'll just answer it. It's going to be Ryan Tannehill. I think he's going to be the first one to get a job. Who would you rather have? Zach Wilson, who has shown you that he is incompetent at the position. I know he
Nuggets won, by the way.
I know he didn't have. I know he had didn't have the best situation in New York, but he's also just made boneheaded plays, whereas Ryan Tannehill, no, he's not mobile, but I think teams see what happened with Joe Flacco yesterday and think, all right, we got a guy who's been in the league for a while who has a big arm. Yeah, we can maybe use him as a backup. So I'd expect Ryan Tannehill to get to a team first.
I agree with that. I think that the Broncos seem like the most likely destination for him right now. But I still think Zach Wilson's going to play football this season. Or maybe the Jets just keep him around because go in with 3 quarterbacks, Rodgers, Tyrod Taylor, and Zach Wilson. But that'd be so brutal for Zach. I don't know.
And Tyrod. Oh,
true.
Just having to be there in the middle of that would be awful.
Yeah, I almost think that Zach Wilson should go to the Falcons or something to learn from Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, or just, not play.
You think he's that bad? He's unplayable?
Yeah.
That'd be hard to say. I mean, I know a lot of people don't want to trade for him right now, but you cut him, I think he goes to a team quickly.
Fine. Let that team have him. What do you did this last year too? Give Zach Wilson some time here with Rodgers being out. You were Mr. Optimistic on that, and then he stunk.
Well, okay, think about what had to happen. He wanted to learn from Aaron Rodgers was supposed to play. And then Zach got thrown in with Nathaniel Hackett, an offense that he never had before, with all these guys that were handpicked by Aaron Rodgers, Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb, all these guys that he doesn't know. I know he had a whole training camp, but I think there was no way for Zach Wilson to succeed. It was all set up for Rodgers.
He could have been halfway decent, though.
There were games, but yeah, he was awful. He was
not good. Come on.
I still think, though, if a team wants to carry 3 quarterbacks, he might stay on the Jets because they're just stubborn that they don't want to, get rid of him that quickly. I see him going to a team. I wouldn't be surprised if the Falcons try to get him as the backup to Kirk Cousins because they need one right now.
Okay. All right. Well, then fine. But okay. I think it's the last that we've seen of Zach Wilson playing. Look, we're seeing him head into the Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen direct. I keep on using those 2 quarterbacks, but that's
poor Josh Rosen.
But that's who I think of all the time. Poor Josh Rosen. What happened?
He's just out of the league. I feel not that poor. He had a jacuzzi in college.
He's fine.
Yeah,
he's fine. He had a shot at the NFL. It's not like not trying to knock the guy for all of that, but unfortunately, just as far as quarterbacks who were highly touted coming out of college and fell by the wayside, he is kind of prototype number 1, so to speak, in this generation.
Yeah. All right, let me bring in more interesting things then.
Oh yeah.
So I brought up the accounting thing with the Niners. So just the details on that. Very fascinating stuff, Steven.
I wonder which other podcast was talking which team is going to get Ryan Tannehill or Zach Wilson first.
Oh, I'm sure the new Guy Haberman podcast was going real deep into it. 49ers forfeit their 5th round 2025 pick, and they will have their 2024 4th round pick moved to the end of the draft because of a payroll incident. Come on, Parag. What's going on there?
Is that a Parag thing?
No, I'm not going to blame him. I'm joking. But that's kind of bad. Yikes.
Yeah.
Forfeit draft picks and have one move back. Which the Niners will be fine. And I maybe that's the reason why they didn't go after Zach Wilson, or maybe just because Josh Dobbs is better. Probably that. But okay, the real thing that came out today, or yesterday, actually, the last 2 days, is this Brandon Aiyuk situation's getting steamy.
Right.
So there was the radio host in Jacksonville that said that she believes there's mutual interest between the Jaguars and Brandon Aiyuk. And her name is Mia O'Brien. I believe that's her name. She then tweeted out yesterday that she has details on what the trade compensation would be between the Jags and Niners. The Niners were looking for the 17th overall pick, which is where the Jags are, and get Brandon Aiyuk. Plus, they would want Zay Jones in the pick, who we know from the Raiders. And I guess that was denied. And I wouldn't do that deal either if I was Jacksonville, because not only do you have to give out the 1st round pick, you have to then pay Brandon Aiyuk as one of the top wide receivers in football. Then today, Brandon Aiyuk doesn't tweet often, but he tweets at Mike Tomlin and says, "Hey, everyone says we look alike. What do you think?" To maybe imply that he should come get him. And with Mike Williams, who was scheduled to meet the Steelers today, or Steelers this week, and the Panthers, meets the Jets on his first visit and joins the Jets. Not a bad move by them. But the Steelers really need wide receiver help because all they have right now is George Pickens. They trade away Deontay Johnson, and I think the only receiver they have is Allen Robinson. Or not Allen Robinson, they cut him. Van Jefferson. I don't think Brandon Aiyuk to the Steelers is a bad move at all, and they could do it financially because they're not paying Justin Fields and they're not paying Russell Wilson, so they can give Brandon Aiyuk a big old contract. But is it in the best interest of the Niners to do that? So this is going to get interesting here the next couple weeks, where if the Niners don't do anything by then maybe they consider moving him. But then it could get interesting in training camp, where the same situation happened with Nick Bosa. I think at the end of the day, he was always going to come back to the Niners. This doesn't feel the same way. This feels like maybe if they don't get Brandon Aiyuk paid and paid fast, that he'll cause a stink, and they'll have to decide between him or Debo. And it sounds like they're leading the direction of maybe trading away Brandon Aiyuk.
Nick Bosa has talked about how his training camp regimen was hindered just based on the contract negotiations. Debo said the same thing. You can't have that with Brandon Aiyuk. Not when he's been as integral to the 49ers offense as he has been. Even though he's been the number 4th option, he has been just a safety blanket for Brock Purdy. Like, my goodness, when he gets open over the middle of the field, like, Aiyuk's just such a pure route runner and pure receiver that anyone would be lucky to have. This would be a screw up of epic proportions if, for whatever reason, they do not have Brandon Aiyuk in the long term. And I didn't think that with the Jaguars thing, it like mutual interest reporter has all these facts, and it's not like she was just throwing it out there. There were like legitimate reasons as to why the Jaguars could go after him and why they'd be willing to give up that first round pick. Then the Steelers thing pops up, and I just figure it's part of the rumor mill, right? And I think that's how it is. Like, I forgot who it was. I think it was Stephanie Sanchez. I think that's her name. I saw her tweet kind of go viral a little bit, or at least get some traction, which basically said, like, this is just what happens. Of course, every team is going to show interest in Brandon Aiyuk. He showed that he was slightly disgruntled after the Super Bowl. I mean, more than slightly. Like, of course, teams are going to have interest in him. Every team is going to. But when Aiyuk tweets out something like that, yeah, that's weird. Like, that's just another, that's bizarre. Like, this is does he really not want to be with the 49ers in the future? Are the Niners not promising him something? Like, what is going on right now? Because I figured by the time the draft or the combine rolled around, and of course what happened post Super Bowl with, his girlfriend getting on social media, his friends and all that, like, I thought the dust would have maybe settled there, but it didn't. And it's like snowballing here. And God, like, I don't care if he's disgruntled. The Niners got to do something, anything to keep Aiyuk on this team, because, like, this is part of the future going forward. Like, by the time George Kittle, Trent Williams, those guys move on, Christian McCaffrey, even by the time those guys move on, it's going to be Brock Purdy and Brandon Aiyuk. Like, that needs to be your quarterback wide receiver duo. It's got to be like Russell Wilson and Tyler Lockett with the Seahawks, or I don't know, I'll think of another kind of recent pairing. I don't know, Tom Brady and Julian Edelman, as each franchise is, yes, exactly. As each franchise is moving forward, there's always someone there from the remains of what was, and Brock Purdy and Brandon Aiyuk need to be those two guys. So this is just, they can't let him go. It just can't happen.
Well, I'll ask this too. Do you think it's feasible anymore in the NFL to have a team where a quarterback is paid, a wide receiver is paid, and another wide receiver is paid? It seems to me like those days are over. It seems to me like you can't have two wide receivers making or just on the next contract, or making $20 million a year? Because it seems to me like more teams are thinking, all right, we got to move this guy, great player for us. We got to move him like Khalil Mack. We can't afford it. We can't afford two guys at the same time. Say that's why I think Niner fans should really keep track of what's going on with the Bengals and T. Higgins. Because if they move on from him and then he gets his contract, then Brandon Ayuk's going to get something similar or more. And the Bengals have let it be known that they cannot pay Jamar Chase and him. And then Justin Jefferson's going to want to get traded. Jamar Chase, obviously, next year. And then even today, Jerry Jeudy got a new contract, which is surprising to me because he hasn't really done much with the Broncos. And the Browns are already ready to give him a contract. And that was a pretty big number. And I don't know what Brandon Ayuk's worth right now. Is he a wide receiver one? I think so, but who's the go-to guy on the team for the Niners? Is it more Debo than him? Who does Kyle value more? Does he want a traditional wide receiver like Brandon Ayuk is, or does he want a jack of all trades, a Swiss Army knife that Debo is? I don't know, and the more that I think about it, the more I wonder if they're going to have to pick between two of them before the draft happens. And I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if Brandon Aiyuk, given everything that's gone on this offseason already with his family members voicing their displeasure with the Niners, with Brandon Aiyuk kind of giving a non-committal answer when he was packing his bags up in the locker room, to this stuff leaking out with the Jaguars, and now him, directly going to a opposing team, a coach, saying, come and get me, basically. I wouldn't be surprised if Brandon Aiyuk before the draft pulls something and says, I want to be traded. I wouldn't be surprised. And I'm also not surprised that the Niners and John Lynch are not doing anything because this is not how they operate. They always do new contracts during training camp. So maybe they're not ready to do this right now.
Maybe there was word, like with all this payroll administrative error that's going on right now, with the amount that they've backlogged a lot of these contracts, like I'm not shocked. The Niners have manipulated the salary cap just as much as any team in the NFL, and it's legal. It's not like it's an illegal thing to do. They've just, restructured so many contracts, turned them into signing bonuses so that they can free up more space in the salary cap and all these sorts of things. Maybe they told Aiyuk, look, for whatever you could be worth, like, we're not going to be able to pay that to you. Yeah, and maybe they've had these discussions. Oh man, Tyro Estrada just crushed it to left field. Gone. Whew. Man, this Giants Royals spring training game towards the end of March, just thriller. So
only got 2 more innings, baby.
Mm-hmm. So, God, I can't wait for Giants baseball this year. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be some good stuff. So
nothing like it.
Nothing like it.
Hold on.
Like it. So
real quick, I don't want to go on a whole tangent here.
What?
With how things were bad last season with the Giants, why would they bring back that slogan for this season?
I don't know.
I would have changed it. New
to
regime,
what?
Something different. Nothing like it. Not nothing like the season before with Gabe Kapler. Now we're moving on to Bob Melvin. You could have changed it.
Giants baseball. Turn the sound on. That's what you would have thought of. That's a deep Derek cut right there.
Very, very inside joke.
Yeah, about as inside as it gets. Yeah, just to give anyone context, one time at the Greek Fest, in Oakland, the TV
2 months
was
away.
playing. The TV was playing a Warrior playoff game, and they didn't have the sound on, and Derek was applying for them to turn the sound on.
Yeah, they could have turned off the Greek music for
Giants baseball.
More important things.
I always like Catch the Fever. It's just such a sarcastic, like cliche type of slogan.
One day we should go through all just the greatest team slogans of individual seasons.
Ooh, it's a good one.
That's not bad. Speaking of which, strength in numbers, which was the one for years for the Warriors. Big win Saturday night against the Lakers and malfunctioning clocks. Just way too long. It was a shit show at the end of that game. But great win for the Warriors. Steph Curry looked pretty good in his comeback from 3 games Scored 31 points, not so much from 3, but Klay Thompson was great off the bench. Played a great game. What?
Nothing.
Oh, Giant.
Tacky.
Yeah,
Tacky.
Giants baseball. Eat shit, Derek.
That is
Yeah.
that is
That would be
perfect.
that would be a great slogan. Yep.
Oh, that is perfect. I'll bring that up on Thursday.
But so where was I before Tacky totally
That's so funny. I want to put your name, like your face, on top of, like right.
just that big photo they have right now with Logan Webb and all the other players, just put my face and just a Giants baseball. Eat shit, Derek.
Exactly. Yep.
So Warriors.
Put your face in all the urinals.
Nope, that's Tom Tolbert's territory for the Warriors at least. You know what?
Oh.
I'll have my own thing for actually nah, I don't need my face at urinals at Oracle Park.
Well, you could be like the real estate agent from I Love You Man, where he's like, you know what I got? Urinal kegs with my face on it. Then I go to a random establishment and someone says, "Hey, don't I know you from somewhere?" Yeah,
you pissed on my face.
You paid to my face, friend.
Yeah. You know, like you got me on Benihana's, and you're just like, "Hey, don't I know you from somewhere?"
Anyway, continue on.
Just Warriors. They had a great win Saturday night. They followed up with a stinker last night. I'm not too concerned because let's keep it real here. While OG and Anunoby did not play last night, along with Julius Randle, yes, the Knicks were undermanned. But Jalen Brunson's playing great, and the Knicks are a good team. They are 4th in the East right now. So, am I freaking out over the Warriors' loss? Not really, because they're not really good at home this season for whatever reason. And at the end of the day, I don't think they could catch the Mavericks. I don't think they could catch the Suns, whoever else is in the play-in territory, the Kings. They're just too far away from those teams. And I don't think they're going to make a 10-game run like Steve Kerr said. I think they're a play-in team. I think they're a 9 seed. I think they're a 10 seed. And the way that it looks right now, I think the Nuggets are going to get the 1 seed. And I think they're just fighting for a chance to play them in the first round.
Well, you've been coasting like this all season, Derek. It's not really anything new. You're just like, whatever. Warriors are fine. They might get a play-in. You've been saying it since the beginning. Might get a play-in spot. They're not going to be in the playoffs, and you just think we should temper our expectations. But one thing I won't be able to stop, because you're right. Because I mean, right now it's either 9th or 10th, 9th at best. It's looking like, or 8th at best. It's looking like right now.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, they played the Mavericks 2 more times. That win the Mavericks had against the Nuggets on Sunday was huge for seeding.
Yeah. And you never know. But me personally, I'm not going to be able to stomach another Warriors win or go home game against LeBron. I can't do it.
Yeah,
I can't do it. One thing that's ingrained into my mind, and I'm surprised well, they're now my friends too, but initially they were just Jesse's friends, the ones that I'd met quite a few times, and a couple of them are Laker fans. We were watching, because this was the time, this was the play-in. I don't think this wasn't the bubble year, but this was the year after. I believe
the playing game.
We were still like watching from home. And we watched it with her friends from LA over the laptop. And I'm surprised I didn't scare them based on how I reacted after LeBron took that charge from JTA and it acted as if he got bulldozed by a truck.
Yeah.
Like he flew in the air and then he went on to hit the game-winning 3. Like I got up and I said some things that I don't normally say. You know what I mean? Like I was not my professionalism that I tried to maintain, as I am. I'm a pro.
Yeah.
The professionalism that I tried to maintain, it was gone. It was out the window at that point. After that, I'll never forget that. And then they went on to win. Like, dude, yeah, it was bad. Actually, I didn't say anything that terrible. Like, you know me, I'm not that bad. But anyway,
Steven, you're talking to a guy that would yell at children during Raider games.
This is true. This is true. Yeah. But I just can't take it. I know the way that he is going to somehow curry favor with the refs.
Ah,
There's something he's going to do, and I just won't be able to stand it. And then I also got the guy below me who I don't even know. I've never talked to, but based on me
Laker
hearing
fan,
him
yeah.
yell, "Oh, dude, Lakers, like the Hawks cut the lead to 13 last night, and this dude is going nuts." I'm like, what is wrong with you? Yeah, I'm not going to be able to take it. Just not.
I actually, if that's the scenario, and I hope it's Warriors 9 seed, Lakers 10 seed, if the game's at Chase Center, I'm all for it. If it's some way redemption from last season where they lost to the Lakers, I'll take it. Now, does it mean that it just leads to them losing the next playing game or possibly in the first round of the Nuggets? I'm okay with that. I'm different than a lot of Warriors fans. I know that they expect a championship year in and year out. Times have changed. I get it. I'm not like every Warrior fan. They still expect excellence. But yeah, I would be okay if they play the Lakers in the first round or in the playing tournament. They just need to win. I can't take it 3 out of the last 4 seasons where LeBron beats them. I can't have that. So it would have to be they have to win. Like it would suck.
Oh,
The result would suck if they lose, but I'm here for it if it means redemption from a year ago.
I guess it also depends on how they like if Anthony Davis goes off, let's just randomly say without him getting, hit in the eye. Let's say
that was bullshit. And by the way, I'm sure you weren't as bad as you say you were watching that game with Jesse's LA friends. I was at a bar in LA. I was still living in I was living in West Hollywood at the time. And I was in a bar and there was a huge bunch of Laker fans, and yeah, I screamed and yelled the whole time, and they all cheered when I left after they won.
Really?
You know what? Fuck them all.
Wait, so you were like that guy at the bar that we went to watch Warriors Lakers?
I wasn't like that guy who was talking shit to Jesse, and you're about to pour a beer on him.
I was very close. You know what I mean? If you cross the line,
yeah,
best watch out. But he was fun. I actually think Jesse kind of scared him off. Like he was like, okay, like
Jessie doesn't need you. She can handle her own.
She does not. And she gave him a nice little talking to. Pretty funny. Yeah, I just for different reasons. Like I could maybe stomach, like Anthony Davis just going off, and he has like a 40 points, 40 and 18 game. 40 points, 18 rebounds, something crazy like that. Like I could handle that, but if it's like that play-in tournament where LeBron takes that charge and then hits the go-ahead 3-pointer to beat the Warriors by 3, I don't know if I could stomach that. I just don't know.
It would definitely suck, but if that's the scenario, I'm all for it. I would get up for that game and I would love it, but they got to win. I can't handle the Lakers beating the Warriors again.
We are talking Warriors here. Did you see what Draymond said? Like
when? Today
on his podcast?
That he's mad LeBron hasn't been on his podcast yet?
No, not that. And who did LeBron team up with for a podcast?
JJ Redick.
He's with JJ Redick now.
Yeah.
No, Draymond talked about it was the LeBron thing too, but did you hear him kind of throw a little shade at Kevin Durant, even though he tried to preface it doing the whole like, I don't mean any disrespect, and this is with all due respect. Did you hear that? You hear that clip?
I mean, he's been talking not crazy shit at Kevin Durant lately, but he's been poking the bear a little bit. Like I thought they had a great sit down and they were friends again, and that sit down where they ridiculed Bob Myers. But yeah, he's been calling him out for the therapy comment that KD had, and then Draymond said he's not a GOAT or whatever fucking terminology you want to use. What do you say this time?
Yeah, so this was obviously from his pod, and after Kyrie Irving hit that floater in the game winner for the Mavs, which was unreal with his left hand, just crazy.
But it's the type of shot that makes you go, oy vey.
Mazel, mazel.
Mazel. Good things.
Good things. So, so funny if someone said mazel tov afterwards.
Oh, that's why I tweeted after that shot. I was like, hey, oy vey. Nice shot, Kyrie. Mazel.
Oh, man. All right. This is Draymond talking about Kyrie as a scorer.
We're friends.
Wait, hang on. Let me get it to the beginning. All right.
I actually said to a couple friends, and like the world to take this and like run with it and try to make it something of what it's not, when it's actually a compliment. Because anyway, I said Kyrie Irving is the scorer that everyone, the world, thinks of Kevin Durant. And what I meant by that was, like, there are some things at times that you can do to Kevin to make it a little tougher on him. Why? Because he's 7 feet and he handles the ball a lot. And if, there's times where, because he's 7 feet, if you time it right, you can pressure up and like press up into Kevin and make things a little bit tougher. He have to turn his back or something and get him out of rhythm a little bit. But like, he's 7 feet, so most guys that can guard him out there when he's handling the ball is not going to be 7 feet, because 7-footers don't move like Kevin Durant.
All right, I get it.
Yeah. He basically went on to say Kyrie is unstoppable. Like, as far as his shot, like, you can't do anything to stop it. And I get the reasoning. Like, he makes some good points, sure. But I also remember a time when Kevin Durant had the unstoppable shot. It was his mid-range game, the one that no one can block. Kind of like Dirk in the fadeaway.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's an unblockable shot. Kevin Durant had that in his arsenal. So to I get that he's trying to make a point, and try to put a stamp on what he's trying to convey. But like, you're using Kevin Durant as an example. Like, there's a reason why people are the world's gonna take this one way. Yeah, because you don't have to mention Kevin Durant. That's why.
Exactly. So I actually don't disagree with what he's saying. I understand what he's saying. And I understood what he said about Wembanyama when he said that he's playing great, but would I give him Defensive Player of the Year right now? No, because of how terrible the Spurs are. And you really can't give a rookie Defensive Player of the Year. I don't disagree with a lot of Draymond's basketball takes. He's a beautiful mind. Shout out Daryl the Guru Johnson. When it comes to basketball and X's and O's, I think that he's going to be great on television when that's his full job.
Draymond Green, podcast basketball, Steve, John Nash. I'm not talking Steve. I'm talking Josh or John. Beautiful mind. I botched that,
to say the least. But the problem is that Draymond is way too opinionated while he's still playing. And because of his demonstrative nature on the court, and yes, he's a new enlightened man. You see that AT&T commercial he's in now?
No.
I think he steals Lily's phone. She's like talking about something, and he goes, yeah, when you think about things for a while and everyone thinks that you're some kind of crazy person, and then you take therapy, then you grow. It's supposed to be serious. And I'm like, what the hell? What is this? Anyway, when you're still playing and you say these things, then yes, it is going to be misconstrued, despite that you're a new person now. Everyone still thinks of Draymond as the combative Draymond. So when he says these things, like, Kyrie's a better scorer than KD, Wembanyama shouldn't be, Defensive Player of the Year, Grant Williams is a joke. Yeah. It's tough. It's tough when he's being very opinionated, but also still playing in the NBA. Like, you understand Stephen A. Smith way more than I do. I listened to an interview with him on the Greenlight podcast with Chris Long. They were at South by Southwest together. I guess it's turning into a new podcast, seminar. and he talked about how he doesn't just say shit just to say shit on TV, which, I don't know about that. But he goes into every argument with a knowledge of, covering basketball for a good deal of his life. And he is honest in saying, like, I don't shy away when an athlete comes after me. I listen to what they have to say because I'm going to respect them because they actually play the sport. But they can't run away from my opinions. And he went in on Draymond Green and said, Draymond is that type of guy. He'll give you the real. He's a good speaker, but he'll run away when you reverse it on him. So I have no problems with what Draymond Green says. The problem I have with it is that he says it while he's still playing, and then when people like Bonte do their job, he freaks out and says, I can't believe you're talking to me. You can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah. You can't just, like, I just can't stand it when anyone does this. It's not just Draymond, but when any human being does this, you can't just say that it's going to be misconstrued because it's not what I'm trying to say, and say this is actually a compliment, and then spend about 45 seconds to a minute talking about why Kevin Durant is no longer unstoppable. like even though the whole point was trying to, I don't want to say corroborate, but basically he's trying to emphasize his Kyrie point by using one of the all-time great scorers as an example, and that he could be stopped. But to just spend like a minute going about it after you said, yeah, I mean, this is a compliment. Yeah, Kevin Durant can't be stopped. The 7-footer, no one knows how to move the ball like him, but you could turn him off his spot. You can move him off his spot and do this. Like, of course it's going to be misconstrued. You can't just say, oh, this is going to be taken out of context. No, there's a reason you're mentioning it. Like, it feels like there is, right?
I don't think there's a hidden agenda. I think just Draymond's talking real basketball, but I think also he's just naive to think that people won't.
Yeah.
But honestly, like, is that his fault? Maybe because of his past transgressions, but is it really on him? Like, he's got this platform now. He could say what he wants on his podcast. He just has to be able to take, like, it's I think it's hypocritical for him to go after Bonte on a post game show, and then, if KD ever clapped back at him, he'd be like, "Oh, that's typical KD, man, soft." Like I said back in the day, he's soft.
I don't know. I mean, I still like Draymond. I still think he's going to have
he's
a very
he's a great player.
He's going to have he's been fantastic for the Warriors, and he's going to have a long career with analysis, breaking it down, and I think he's going to really thrive in that role. I really like. I don't even say the best is yet to come with his post-playing career, but man, you really feel like he could do something there. But yeah. I also think he's still in these preliminary stages of that career. Like, I'm going to go back to what he said about defense and talk about how it's okay to admit what you don't know, because he was talking about how fans were going at him for defense and kind of telling him how defense is played. I'm not going to be the one to do that, but have been doing media for a solid, whatever it is now, going on 9 years almost, know a little bit about this. And it's just, if you're going to bring up the name, like, automatically that's going to trigger something, especially if you say people are going to take this the wrong way. Well, yeah.
But he's I mean, like, as AJ Cruz says here, wait, I thought this was a show. I thought this was a show for opinions, man. It is. It definitely is. And I'm not knocking Draymond for having his opinion, but when you talk constantly about players in the league, they could turn on you. So as long as Draymond's willing to have that, but
I guess the final point I'm trying to make here is, I just can't believe this thing is still going on. Like, this little hint of beef between Draymond and Kevin Durant. That's really,
it'll always be there. It'll always.
That's
be
really
there.
That's simmering. Like, the beef. It's been cooked. It was cooked after that Clippers game, and now it's just been on simmer for these past few years. And now you're starting to heat it up a little bit. Reheat the beef.
Lately, I thought they squashed it when they did their sit down for Draymond's podcast to talk shit about Steve Kerr and Bob Myers, but yeah, to be completely honest, I don't really get into what Draymond says on his podcast anymore. I could care less. I love Draymond as a player. This is his side gig. Go ahead, Draymond. Say whatever you want.
There's a lot of podcasts out there. You got to pick and choose which ones. Like, gosh, there's so many damn forms of entertainment nowadays. I don't know whether to read a book on the BART ride home, listen to a new album, listen to a podcast. You got some of them that are like 3 hours long. Like, I don't know what to choose.
Like this one?
Yeah.
Speaking of forms of entertainment, documentaries are great. Sports documentaries.
Yep.
And you just finished up Dynasty, the Patriots Dynasty on Apple TV.
Close
And
to it. I almost finished it. I thought I'd be done by the time we got to the podcast, but I didn't realize it was like 10 episodes.
So which one are you on?
Like the 9th one where Tom Brady's done.
So you're basically there.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. So the 10th episode, I won't spoil it for you, but you get the idea of the picture they're painting with Bill Belichick. So just curious, your thoughts. I know you got one more episode to go, but just your thoughts on the documentary and how they've portrayed Belichick in this thing.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's like a hit piece on Belichick. It got worse. It got worse as the season went on. Like at first I was enjoying. I'm like, oh, this is sick. Get to watch this about a dynasty. And then they just turned it against Bill Belichick. And anyone who would watch that for the first time maybe had no idea, no inkling of what went on with the Patriots. And you saw that. God, you wouldn't think that Belichick's one of the greatest coaches of all time. You think he's a scumbag. Just a jerk.
Yeah. And he doesn't do anything.
He doesn't want to talk either. He doesn't help himself in the podcast, but
no, I mean, he doesn't do himself any favors. He's very limited in what he says. Like there's one point where the director goes, "What was the reason you didn't play Malcolm Butler in that Super Bowl?" And he just goes, "Yeah, Matt, we've already talked about this."
Yeah.
And then the director goes, "I haven't asked you one question about it, Bill."
Yeah. Yeah. Then he just sits there. Yeah.
I'm surprised he entertained this thing. And I'm surprised that guys like Danny Amendola, Rob Gronkowski, Devin McCourty, all pillars of the Patriots, are very open and very judgmental of Belichick.
Yeah.
And I sent you an article earlier. They interviewed Rodney Harrison and Devin McCourty. And while they're honest in this thing, they also have said since this documentary has come out, they felt kind of duped that maybe that they were inclined or persuaded to talk about certain things, but they didn't know it would be portrayed a certain way.
Yeah,
that Belichick is this awful human being.
Yeah,
and
I think leading questions. They were, trying to get an answer.
Definitely, and I think that this documentary is very, very entertaining, and I think Tom Brady takes the high road. There's times where you could tell he's very upset about the past, and Robert Kraft is very honest, overly honest, in saying like Tom came to my house, he was crying, he didn't know how to handle things with Bill, he wanted to be traded, and this whole thing just seems to me like whenever they filmed this, I mean, he must have known that Bill wasn't coming back because they're very open. And Robert wants this thing to make it seem like he's the hero. He's the one that was looking out for Tom. And you saw the episode with Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah.
Like, the ending of that is, oof. Like, I've seen documentaries on Aaron Hernandez, and this was the most, like, detailed and the side of the Patriots. Like, they interviewed Wes Welker, and Wes Welker just like, hey, I understand this guy's dead and everything, but Aaron Hernandez was not a good person.
Right.
And Deion Branch talks about him, and Brandon Lloyd talks about like the weird encounters they had with him. Not to justify anything he did, but they talk about like just mentally and how Aaron wanted to get traded because he was so worried that someone was going to kill him. And Belichick was like, I can't do that. You're a great player on my team. I'm not trading you. Which
Deion Branch was hard to watch on that one.
Yeah.
Not hard to watch as in it's hard to watch him talk. Hard to watch as in you can tell this had like a great deal of impact on him as a person. Just the way that he viewed people, like you could tell, like talking about it, just with how slow and kind of, it almost still seems like he's in a state of shock after that.
Yeah.
Just reminiscing about all that stuff and how Deion Branch, like for anyone who hasn't watched it, I'm not going to like spoil it, but Deion Branch was like, I guess like if there was like any friend of the team for Aaron Hernandez, it was Deion Branch, but also Branch could tell that, you know, he was going on a slippery slope when he was hanging out with his old friends from Bristol.
Yeah. No, it's dark. But the
Yeah.
ending of it is Robert Kraft basically just like looking into the camera and saying, "I'm very sorry for what we did.
Yeah.
That we not only drafted this guy, but we didn't do anything to stop his behavior. We kind of enabled him, and we basically are responsible for a murder and the death of a football player, and in Aaron Hernandez and the guy that he killed, obviously."
Yeah.
And yeah, I completely understand all that. I think a lot of it though is like Robert Kraft basically like apologizing for the way Belichick treated the media or treated the players. And while yes, he could be abusive and a tyrant, a lot of coaches are like that. And I just think that this is kind of unfair. Like this doesn't tell the whole story of Bill.
Yeah.
Of he was the guy that gave Tom Brady a chance, and he's always thinking about the next thing. So could he be cold-hearted? Yes. But so was Bill Walsh and Mike Ditka and Bill Parcells and all these greats. So I think it's a little unfair, this thing.
Yeah.
And I'll be completely honest. I think that it's with Bill not getting a job this season, I wouldn't be surprised if this documentary kind of tarnishes not his legacy, but like any future he has. Like he's trying to get a TV job, and I would love to see Belichick on, some, simulcast with Saban. But this thing makes him out to be a crusty old heartless bastard. And hey,
Yeah.
Phoebe. And I wonder if this was the sentiment of most owners, and when they see this thing, they're going to be like, "Yeah, this is why we didn't hire him, and we're not going to hire him."
I do have to say though, when it got towards the last when it got to the end of Tom Brady's time, and they were like the season after everything happened with Alex Guerrero suspending him from the locker room and all that.
Yeah.
I just love it when, like all the guys you've mentioned, with whoever was speaking to the camera, Danny Amendola, what's that NFL that analyst for the NFL Network now?
Devin McCourty.
Scott Pioli.
Yes, Scott Pioli.
Scott Pioli, Devin McCourty, one of them, just all saying these like profound things. You could tell the tension was there.
Yeah.
You could cut it with a knife. And then Rob Gronkowski comes up and just says, "Yeah, that season you could tell everyone's butthole was tight. You could tell that everyone had their butt cheeks clenched."
Yeah.
It's just so funny how you get all these guys super serious, and then Gronkowski comes in. You could feel everyone's butthole tight.
Yeah.
That's my takeaway.
It killed kind of the seriousness of the moment, but
a little bit. Yeah, it's just like, all right, Gronk, you come in here, you wonder why we thought you were like a meathead when you were playing. It's like everyone after his career was like, actually, Gronk was a lot smarter than you thought. Yeah, probably true. But then you see him on these documentaries.
No.
Yeah, everyone could feel their buttholes just tighten up.
I've seen Gronk on Edelman's podcast. The man could spell. He's a great speller.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. You have to be smart to play football.
Yeah.
It's just like it's those certain things,
Yeah.
those little sayings, little expressions.
Yeah, I would say the documentary overall was fun to watch and interesting, but kind of a hit job on Bill. It was very Last Dance like, where they made Scottie Pippen look bad. This is this Last Dance is for Robert Kraft and Tom Brady, and to make Belichick look like the bad guy.
Yeah, but at least, I mean, Scottie Pippen didn't do himself any favors after.
He did it to himself, but it's just not telling the whole story. This seems like a one-sided documentary where Belichick's made to, like, just because Belichick doesn't like talking to the camera, he's made to be like just like an awful person.
Oh, dude, it's not an unbiased documentary that speaks from all sides. It's rare that you see that, but this one is clearly in favor of Rob. I mean, is the massage stuff mentioned?
No,
No allegations of that.
Definitely not.
I wonder who funded this little documentary that they got going on here. Like, come on, you can tell, man. Like, there's like, what? Stop trying to turn. I know Bill Belichick's Bill Belichick, but stop trying to turn him into the bad guy. Like, why didn't they show the that little Randy Moss hidden NFL film where he invites Belichick to the Halloween party and he's dressed as a bumblebee on a roller rink?
I mean, that's a great moment. No,
he was a pirate.
Yeah. He was a pirate,
roller rink.
and Randy Moss was SpongeBob.
Yes, yeah,
I remember it well. Speaking of documentaries, Netflix is coming out with not the quarterback show. This offseason, this summer, it's going to be receiver. It's going to have Devontae Adams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Justin Jefferson, Deebo Samuel, and George Kittle. Very interesting. I'll watch that. It's just surprising to me that they didn't get any quarterbacks to agree to do that show again. But I like the group they have for receiver.
I think it's going to be great. I don't think it's going to put the Raiders in the best of light for Devontae Adams, though.
You worry about that?
I'm not worried about that, but I don't think the Raiders are going to welcome Devontae Adams doing a whole documentary based on what happened this last season.
Yeah, he was not happy for a lot of it. So
yeah,
good point. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so it's going to be it's going to be entertaining, but I don't think the Raiders want that. I don't know what Justin Jefferson is going to say about the Vikings. Not being able to keep Kirk Cousins. Who was the other? Amon-Ra St. Brown's going to be awesome. I think you're going to, we'll see the stuff with his dad and his brother and just his upbringing and his mentality. That's really exciting. And then Deebo Samuel and George Kittle. We kind of know what to expect there, but I think George Kittle is going to be hilarious, and then Deebo is going to be Deebo. No, it's exciting, and I'm looking forward to it. But with the Raiders and Devontae Adams, if there's any season you're going to document, this last season's not the one you want to do. And the first thing to talk about is Derek Carr.
Derek Carr and his frustration with Jimmy and them firing Josh McDaniels. So it's going to be interesting with the Raiders involved with that one.
Yeah, man.
And the Niners. We'll see Deebo. I mean, him go off against the Eagles. George Kittle go off against the Cowboys. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun little thing in June and July, right before we get to football season.
Yeah, 100%.
Before we get out of here, Tacky, I want to thank you, but also I'm going to call you out here. I don't know what the hell this means. Derek's the type of dude to have 2 nipples but only use one. Talking about my own, or
what nipples you using, Tacky?
Yeah, I elaborate on that one. And while I question whatever the hell you're talking about, I also want to thank you because, just Tacky's just like, I said what I said. Eat shit, Derek. Tacky in the chat last Saturday was talking about Shane Gillis performing in Oakland.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. And you were like, there's no way. Tickets are sold out. You can't get in. You can't get a ticket to Shane Gillis at the Paramount. Me and my little brother hanging out, watching the Warrior game, checking out SeatGeek, seeing if tickets are lowering down. And sure enough, we copped a pair of tickets. Went to go see Shane Gillis at the Paramount. Most packed I've ever seen that venue. Awesome. Techie was probably there. I probably saw him, and if I saw him, if he saw me, he'd probably tell me to eat shit. The bathroom line was ridiculous, but it was a great show. Shane was awesome. A lot of stuff I've seen before on, his specials, but he's fucking hilarious and the king of comedy right now. Stand-up comedy, that is.
Did you do the grilled cheese joke?
He did not do the grilled cheese joke.
Oh, no grilled cheese joke.
He talked about how when he was younger, he was best friends with his mom, how when he played football, he was on the all-white team and they played the all-black team, and that led to some funny banter. And yeah, a lot of stuff that it was funny. He was riffing on SNL, and he would like say something ridiculously offensive, and he'd be like, "See, now that's something I couldn't say on SNL. That's something that Lauren would get all fucking weirded out if I said that."
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was a great performance, and I mean, yeah, the line was out the door. It was insane. We were lucky to get the tickets, and yeah, his delivery, he's very interesting because he doesn't say the funniest things. Like, it's not the most clever, thought out stuff. He's just talking like a normal dude, but his delivery reminds me a little bit of Norm. It's just like, it's not what he's saying, but it's how he's saying it that makes it funny.
Yeah, and with any of these guys like Chappelle, Burr, any of them, he found his voice. He found what jokes he can make that make him funny, and it's like his stand-up. What I find what draws me in is just how casual it is, right, and just how like laid back he is, and it just feels like kind of just a friend just talking to you and telling jokes,
No,
and
exactly.
it's so easy. There's not a lot of like thinking involved either. You know what I mean? You don't have to like dive too deep into it.
It's not the highest brow comedy, but
no,
hey, who likes that shit?
But like it's damn funny. So if anyone hasn't seen it, recommend it highly.
Yeah, no, me and my brother had a very good time, so
Jealous.
It was hilarious. Thank you, Tacky. Thank you for telling me. And yes, we went to the second showing, the 9:30 showing.
Oh, right on.
Probably the 9:30 one was probably too late for you, huh? Had to be in your bed, Tacky. I don't know. I'm trying to come up with shit talk to him. I don't know what to say. This guy. Anyway, that's it for tonight. Steven, you ready to go to spring training?
I'm ready to go to bed.
All right, then I'll let you go to bed. All right. Thanks to the Ernies. Thanks to AJ Cruz. Thanks to Tacky. Yeah, I'll say what's up. Otis Bird and Alon, who was in the chat tonight. He'll be joining me come Sunday for the next show. Until then, Steven, have a great time at spring training and say what you always say.
It is just our opinion. It was good.